I have Scott Roesner with me. He's up in Nisswa, Minnesota. And along with a lot of snow already this year, they've had winds and it knocked his power out, but we have him back because maintenance on a log and timber frame home is super important. So we're glad that he's able to make it. So Scott is with Structures Wood Care. Scott Roesner, he's been in the business for 26 years, and we're going to talk about log home maintenance. How long does the finish last on your log home? Scott, welcome.
How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. Having a good time today. So we're getting a lot of knowledge floating around out there. We're hoping we're helping people with their planning, building their new home, or in this case, maintaining their existing one. As you know, it's an ongoing process, and it can be made easy if you put the time and early on in the process and kind of take on the knowledge by listening to people like you. But go ahead and talk about it a little bit, Scott.
Well, that's a frequent question I get, and whether they have an existing log home or whether they're building a new one, it's like, what is going to be the maintenance? Of course, the least maintenance product out there is paint. However, my question is, why do you want to build a wood home if you're going to paint over the top of it? Part of the reason for building a wood home is to show the natural beauty and rusticness and everything else. So there are a variety of products out there to coat the exterior of a home. Some have more durability than others. Some are more coats than others. As a general rule of thumb, you're going to find two different products out there: an oil-based product and a water-based product. The difference is most all water-based products are VOC compliant. In people that are living in the Northeast US, Colorado, California, that's very important to be VOC compliant. So you probably want to go to the water base. The oil base is the one that's going to highlight the knots and grains the best. Does a exceptional job of highlighting knots and grains.
It's just because of the oil in it, Scott, it just kind of brings that out more. Is that what it does?
Yeah, oil penetrates. So what it does is it forces itself in through the wood's finish, therefore kind of pulling those knots and grains back out to you so that you can see those and really be highlighted. Where a water base is, all coats sit on top of the wood, so they mute those a little bit. It's still beautiful. You're gonna get a little better protection out of a water-based acrylic product than you would out of an oil base. All oil bases have either a linseed and or a tung oil in them. And the issue with those are they are non-curing oils. We call them long oils. And those non-curing oils have a tendency when they get hot to move toward the surface. What usually follows several hot days with a lot of sun is a heavy storm.
Gotcha.
That storm then knocks those oils down onto the ground. So oils tend to lose their suppleness a little quicker, hence their maintenance time is a little quicker. Acrylics, since they sit on top, have virtually no linseed oil in it whatsoever. They form a very, very tough shell that's flexible, and so that it can move around with the wood. It's also very breathable. And our acrylic generally has the most durability because we use 100% industrial grade acrylic resins. We don't put any fillers in it. And so we get an exceptional amount of time between maintenance coats. So however, the cost is a little bit more. So what you pay for in the front, you get in the back.
So let's talk about that a little bit, Scott. Oftentimes, I always talk about the budget, whether you've got $1.5 million budget or $100,000 budget, you have a budget and everything is relative. And when it comes to stains and finishes, over the years, a lot of people sometimes don't think about that on the front end, or maybe they do, but the flashy new Wolf gas range comes into play, and I got to have a refrigerator that tells me my milk is out. Things like that come up, and all of a sudden you're down a little bit. Talk a little bit about when the thought process is and what the thought process is in those early stages, especially when building a new home.
Well, what you got to remember, and I think a lot of people are on the nature of you, they get toward the end of the project and their budget is pretty tightly squeezed. However, when you're building a wood home, please remember your outside wall is also your inside wall. And it's very, very important to protect that outside. Mother Nature is the most evil of all. She can take two things, water and sunlight, and turn the tops of mountains into dirt. Just those two products alone. And so we got to protect against those. Otherwise, you have the potential of your logs or your siding to start failing, and the costs go up dramatically if that was ever to happen.
And really, we talked about it earlier with the log home company. We talked about some design principles, maybe to think about covered porches oftentimes help. And then you've got, when we're dealing with log and timber frame homes, we're dealing with views. And sometimes those views can look north, they can look south. But at some point, somebody's got a southern side of their house and they have a northern side and so on and so forth. So you have to pay careful attention, right, to those sides of the house. They have a tendency to change a little quicker maybe than others. So during the process, once you're already in your home, maintaining the house is really the key to making this not so, a lot of people are like, oh, maintenance on a wood home, but it's really about doing those little care and maintenance processes throughout. It makes it a much more easier, correct?
That is 100% correct. You will have sides on your house that will become more maintenance prone over the course of time because of Mother Nature. So what you want to do is you want to stay on top of those sides. After a few times of doing a maintenance coat, you're going to pretty much know that in 3 years I need to recoat the south side, and in 10 years I need to recoat the north side. You're going to have that figured out. Well, it's a lot nicer just to do one or maybe two sides of your house than it is to go around all four sides of your house. And then the other thing you want to do is be sure that if you have such as a log home and it has the round logs, it's very important that any crack that is above the halfway point of the log toward the top,
makes sense.
Very important that you caulk those splits, joints, whatever, because one of the worst things is getting water into the log, because it goes in through a tight space, but it spreads out like a reverse cone. And then what it can do, a couple different things. It can start the dry rot process. The other thing it can do is pop your finishes off, because where water goes in, it doesn't necessarily go back out that same crack.
Good point.
The cone out, and then Mother Nature says, if I got excess water here, it's going to go to where I got low water over here. And it will go out in as straight a line as possible and toward the heat.
So I guess the key here, Scott, is really preventive maintenance is the key, and it can be as easy or hard as you want to make it. The best part is to stay on it, and it'll be easier. We're getting down to a couple minutes left here. Again, I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge today. But, to learn more about this and really about the acrylic finishes that Structures Wood Care does offer, I encourage you to go in Scott's booth and he can talk to you about all those things. Or any questions you have, whether you own a house or existing. But Scott, I want to give you a couple minutes to talk about Structures Wood Care itself. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Structures Wood Care went to market in 2003. That's when we actually started selling our product to the public. What our principle behind this company was, we wanted to become and known as the gold standard of the industry. There was no sense for the owners at that point in time. There were two husband-wife teams that owned Structures. The one has since passed away, so we're down to just a husband-wife. So we're a small privately held company in north central Minnesota, and we know weather because Eric and I have been talking. We've had it all so far this fall.
Crazy. Since October.
Yeah, yeah, just in October alone. And then we throw in their summer with the heat and humidity, so we get it all. So our premise was to start this company not as another Me Too company. We wanted to bring a quality, very durable as possible product to the market. And we also stress something that I like to call live answers, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There are people manning the phone here, not a recording unless everybody happens to be out of the office for some strange reason. But we will tell you on the phone and help you out and help you make decisions and help you find solutions. Live people, live answers. And it's something not very many other companies do. And most people really appreciate that. Everybody that talks on the phone is extremely friendly and they ask the right questions. So don't be afraid to hesitate to call us. But we're making our strides, and we're making our strides big time. This year has been absolutely a blast so far. So hopefully that continues and our reputation continues to grow, and hope to see all of you with Structures Wood Care on your home someday.
All right. Awesome. Scott, thank you very much. Again, thanks folks for attending today, and have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.